A man's voice takes us back to an unforgettable summer. He reminisces about his childhood, feeling unstoppable and carefree, focused only on the limitless possibilities of summer. We see him arriving in a seaside town with his parents. His name is Doug, and he has a passion for reading. He is captivated by the ocean and the sand. His mother teased him for carrying too many books. They settle into a house next to a pier with docked boats. Doug heads to the pier and meets his friend, who is thrilled about the summer and the prospect of meeting women without much competition. They head to a bar where a man unplugs the music and starts playing his guitar, much to the crowd's delight. Doug's friend hands him an apron, revealing this as their summer job. Doug returns home to an empty house and retreats to his room to look at some photos. He notices a stunning new neighbor, Lena, moving in with her husband, Elliot. Doug, on his bike, sees Lena again at the beach and can't take his eyes off her. He reunites with his friend, and they talk about girls while taking a mattress to an old shed. Hearing laughter from the beach, they open beers and toast to summer. Doug goes home and sees the neighbors have settled in. His dad introduces him to Elliot, who mentions he heard Doug knows a lot about boats and might hire him as a boat mechanic, offering better pay than mowing lawns. The next day, Doug goes to inspect the boat and spots Lena returning from a swim, heading towards the shower. As he watches her, Elliot comes out and inquires about the boat's condition. Doug explains that the damage is mostly cosmetic, and they discuss payment, settling on $12 despite Elliot offering $20. Later, Doug glances out his window and sees Lena changing, but a tense situation unfolds as Elliot enters the room and tries to force himself on her, causing Doug to look away. The following day, Elliot heads to the waterfront and encounters a strict guard who requests his identity. Doug joins Elliot and comments on the guard's strictness, to which Elliot responds positively. As they stand on the boat, Doug asks how Elliot managed to acquire everything, and Elliot attributes it to money and good looks. Another day passes, and Doug witnesses Lena in distress near her car, alarmed by a spider. Doug kills the spider and fixes Lena's car, but things become awkward when she gets close to him. Doug confides in his friend about the interaction, who warns him to be cautious of Elliot, sensing he's not someone to mess with. On his way back from work, Doug encounters Lena sitting on her porch, locked out of her house. She asks for his help and requests to keep it between them, as Elliot had asked her to take care of herself. When it starts raining, Lena urges Doug to break the back window with a rock to let her in. After he does so, she invites him in for a drink, and they begin talking. While tending to Doug's cut, Lena initiates a kiss, leading to them becoming intimate. The next day, they wake up together in bed, and Lena compliments Doug on their night. She playfully asks if he has been with a girl before, and he jokes about it being his third time. Later, Doug recalls the time spent with Lena, smiling to himself. He meets his friend, who plays a voice note of Doug moaning, but Doug ignores his friend's suggestions about other girls. Over the next few days, Doug continues to think about Lena and starts working out to impress her. One day, she visits him while he's working on the boat, claiming her husband sent her to check on him. They end up kissing and being intimate again. The next night at the bar, Doug spots Lena with her husband and dismisses his friend's suggestions about other girls. Another day, Doug is riding his bicycle when he spots Elliot stopping near a store. Doug enters the shop, and soon Lena joins him inside. They both leave through the back door and engage in intimate activities. Later, Elliot enters the store looking for Lena, causing them to halt. Sometime later, Elliot examines the boat Doug is fixing and discusses an oversight with him. He lectures Doug, drawing parallels between them and mentioning that Doug is working hard. Elliot also informs Doug that he'll be going out of town. Doug takes advantage of Elliot's absence and spends time with Lena. She gives him a secret phone to help them communicate, warning that Elliot is paranoid. Doug and Lena are seen together by the gardener. Later, when Elliot asks Doug to take the boat out, Doug takes the boat out to ensure its seaworthiness. Elliot narrowly avoids being hit by a beam during the ride. He jokingly mentions that Doug was giving him advice about women and inquires about Doug's girlfriend. Suddenly, the boat's engine malfunctions, prompting Elliot to check it. In the meantime, Lena confides in Elliot about considering a divorce. When Elliot returns, he asks Doug to fix the engine. That night, Lena calls Doug, upset that Elliot assaulted her before leaving on a business trip. Doug rushes to the hospital, urging her to report the incident to the police, but she refuses, and they head home together. Later, Lena calls Doug again, this time from the beach where she's sunbathing. She invites him over, and they end up spending time together in a boat shack. Lena confides in Doug about her husband's first wife and their ongoing court battle. Doug's friends notice he's been acting differently and suspect he's seeing someone, but he dismisses their comments. Upon returning home, Doug finds Elliot back and soon gets another urgent call from Lena. He hurries to her place to discover that she fought with Elliot, resulting in his death. Desperate, she asks for Doug's help, and they decide to cover up the incident. Doug goes to work at the bar and comes home to find Lena meeting his parents, leading to an awkward encounter before he retreats to his room. That night, Doug and Lena discuss their options, realizing they can't make it look like an accident. Doug devises a new plan, taking Elliot's body to his boat, intending to stage a fight and make it seem like Elliot left. As Doug tries to sail away, a security guard mistakes him for Elliot and addresses him as Mr. Harper. Pretending to be Elliot, Doug departs. The next morning, the police investigate what they believe to be an accident. They question Lena and begin to suspect foul play after discovering that Elliot's substantial insurance fund is designated to her. Doug goes about his daily routine, even serving a couple of cops discussing the incident. Meanwhile, a woman arrives in town and meets with the police, revealing that the Elliot Trust is taking the case seriously due to Elliot's insurance. She continues her investigation, questioning Lena about the events and potential extramarital affairs. As the cops investigate, the waterfront guard identifies a possible suspect from the night of the incident. As the story unfolds, the cops have a conversation with Doug's father. Meanwhile, Doug questions the guard about the suspects, who mentions the possibility of seeing Elliot that night. The insurance agent arrives at the crime scene, discovering a broken glass window from Doug's previous encounter with Lena. Doug's friend shares information about a woman Doug might be seeing, causing Doug to get upset and leave. Later that night, the agent returns to Doug's home, asking about Lena's visit. Doug panics and tries to call Lena, but cuts the call short when his parents arrive. At the police station, Doug answers some questions while the agent probes about Elliot's relationship with Lena. Doug's mom intervenes to protect her son from being framed. Doug receives a message from Lena asking him to meet at a boat shed. She tells him they need to be apart for a while before leaving. When Doug returns home, the investigator is back and collects his fingerprints and a mouth swab. During questioning, Doug remains silent. He confides in his friend and parents about his situation. Meanwhile, the cops find a match for the blood sample, but Doug's efforts to prove his innocence are thwarted at every turn, possibly manipulated by Lena. A gardener who could have provided evidence is found murdered. Doug manages to escape on his bike and meets Lena at the watershed. She tries to frame him for attempted rape, resulting in Doug's arrest. He convinces the police to let him go and heads to Lena's motel to find her cell phone, which has evidence to clear his name. As Doug searches for the phone, Lena and the agent appear. He realizes the agent is Lena's accomplice and had manipulated him from the start. The agent and Lena leave on a plane after claiming Elliot's insurance fund. Doug eventually serves a reduced prison sentence. Lena and her lover continue to be on the run, leaving Doug to ponder if he would do it all over again. The story ends with Doug reflecting on the past and the consequences of his actions. And those are also the final details of the movie. That's it for today. See you all in the next videos. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, everyone.